Well, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast, guys. And today I'm graced with the two special guests that we have. My two boys are here.
At least he appreciates us.
Mm-hmm. And
Or says he does.
it's pretty cool because we're going to be talking turkeys still. This is probably the last podcast of this season that we'll do on turkeys, I think.
Until I kill another bird.
Well, because we're winding down. We're getting there. But you'll want to tune in next week because next week I think we're going to be talking about some deer stuff.
Which is crazy because some people
are
like
just
New
getting
York
started.
And stuff. Yeah, I don't even know if they're just opened yet.
Yeah, which is nuts because today is the second day of May, and for us it's been open for 3-4 weeks. So we still got 2 weeks left, but that's what we wanted to talk about today was specifically the late season turkey hunters. And what you're dealing with and what we've been dealing with and how we have counteracted and made it successful for us. So we got a few tips and things like that. So with that being said, let's talk turkey, boys.
Who do you think's got the biggest bird so far?
As far as weight, what?
Yeah, weight, beard.
I didn't weigh mine or Joey's, but ours are probably like 23, 24 is all.
The two birds I killed on opening day, one of them was considerably bigger than the other one, and I felt like the one was average, which was like the one that Nick killed and Alyssa killed. I didn't weigh them because it was pouring down raining, and so I didn't have a place to do it outside the rain.
Mine was so big the picture weighed 15 pounds.
The picture weighed 15 pounds.
Yeah.
What the heck? That was.
I heard that from Shannon Sharp this morning. Did you know Steve Hart? So shout out to those guys. If Steve Harvey and Shannon Sharp are actually listening to this. Do you know they're big fishermen?
I knew Steve Harvey was.
Yeah.
He owns the Chick-fil-A ranch with like 9 lakes on it.
Oh, so you saw the same TikTok I did.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, because Shannon Sharp, that's what he's like. He's like, how big a fish you got, Steve? And Shannon's like, he's like, bigger than anything you've ever caught. And he's like, I got one so big that my picture weighed 6 pounds. And I was like, that's good. I gotta keep that one. I gotta take note of that.
But so I guess to answer your question, I think that I might have the biggest weighted bird this year, but Alyssa has blown us all away with spurs.
Yeah, those spurs are huge.
Yeah, they were 1 3/4 inch and 3/8.
I don't think we kill any of the like just giant butter balls though that were.
I measured them.
I thought you just said yesterday they were 1 inch and like 7/8.
I thought you said 1 inch and 5/8.
1 and 3/8. Inch and 3/8, which is
Interesting.
still a big long hook. And they
They
were
look a
hooked.
lot bigger than 1.5 inches, though.
That shows you how long a freaking 2-inch spur is.
It's humongous.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It'll kill you, man.
Probably good.
Ka-chow.
I could go right through your jugular.
And then I think I'm winning on beards. It's definitely combined.
I don't even remember what my beard is.
So-
they've all been like 10. So
They've been
far.
around that 10 mark, but they've been some of the thickest beards we've ever killed, which has been pretty cool.
I just shoot.
So let's talk about, you're still hunting. So what are some of the tactics that you've switched to? Have you changed up what you're doing?
Yeah, I've been a lot more mobile. And like I'm not well, it depends on where I'm at, but I haven't been really caring to sit in a blind. Unless it's like in a
But
spot.
that's just a choice, right?
That's
No,
not
that's-
true. You guys
That's
sat in a blind
depends
for
on
5 hours the other day.
Would you for once in your life just listen?
I do that a lot.
I have chosen not to due to where we're at in some places, like where we were sitting on the hill the one time. Like, I'm not going to use a blind there.
Well, there's no place for one there.
There's no place, but I also don't care to give them any reason to even switch up their habit.
But let's talk about that tactic, because there's a tactic involved in that.
As far as what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, so it's later in the season. We're not just these birds aren't just gobbling their heads off,
No, they're not talking at all. At least that specific bird is
Right.
not. But he's doing the same exact thing every day to a T. I mean, as far as where he's going to be all day, where he's going to roost generally, or at least down to a couple options. Where he's going to be in the evening, and that he's got one of 2 places that he's going into the trees. So all we've done with him, we haven't gotten a shot on him, but all you got to do is wait for the right day. Now every time we've gone and sat, it's been
He
either
wins.
freaking raining or super windy or some weird weather that comes in that they don't even end up doing what they're doing.
Well, we messed up. I mean, not you, but I have hunted the same bird like 4 times. You've hunted him two or three.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we messed up on him. I mean, we had him. When Easton says we have him down to like knowing what they were doing, we had this bird down to knowing a place where he's crossing the fence, coming through the fence, and so we set up on that, going, okay, we just got to wait him out. And Nick and I were sitting there that day, and the mistake was we saw him strutting about 150 yards from us, but he was headed east. He's headed west. And so we decided to try to cut him off. And because we had him close the day before, he had been right there. And we thought that he got around us and went down to the west a little bit. So we circled around there, got in there, and everything was perfect, man. I mean, we were set up and saw hens like just milling around, feeding right in front of us. We're like, this is game on. And then all of a sudden we heard a gobble back up in the field where we had been sitting, and we watched Mr. Tom Turkey walk right through the fence opening there where we had been waiting on him and go right through there.
He's left his hens for that?
No, he was following 2 hens.
Oh.
They all 3 came across and went through there. So then what he did was he got across the fence onto our side and then pitched right in a tree right there.
Yeah.
So there was nothing we could do with him. The next day we came back and tried to set up on the other side of him. But I knew the chances of getting him to leave those hens was not good.
Well, in that situation too is there's not. I've tried to, like with deer, you can figure out pretty well that like throughout the summer they're going to have a pattern, and there's a certain time frame in there where they're going to start changing that pattern, whether it's when they shed their velvet and then they get to a new pattern, or they go to something completely new after another week or two. With turkeys, I feel like depending on the time of the season, I've been trying to find like, okay, when are they going to be more patternable? When are they not? And maybe I'm wrong, but as opposed to the first week of the season, they're doing the same things for a little, like they do them for spans. And it doesn't matter what time of year it is. So like I had birds that were going to the same spot every day for about a week, and then they just stopped doing that. Granted, we hunted them, but then they went and did the same thing somewhere else, as long as you find it. The only difference, like with this one, is in it being later in the season. We didn't want to call to him. One, because they weren't calling, and 2, because if they're naturally doing something, don't add anything.
Right. Don't.
And just be as natural as possible. But other situations, I'll just try to be where they're at, and I still may throw decoys out and stuff because I know they're going to be there. But later in the season, like right now, I don't want to give him that one specifically with how naturally we're hunting him. I didn't want to give him anything, like even to the point where we were like, we may not even throw the Reaper decoy up when he comes closer.
Right.
We may just leave it and try to maybe use it to where he can't see it till he's close enough, and use it just to cover me up to get to full draw. But other than that, that's a really different. We normally don't hunt them that patterned or that naturally. I can only think of bushy beard is the only one you've done similar to that.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
but we've been close. I mean, that's the thing is once you do pattern them and they are doing the same thing, guy can get in there. Like I said,
it's a matter of just going
right
consistently.
We haven't added decoys, no blind. We're just sitting against a tree.
And one of these times you'll do it.
Right.
The other thing that I've been doing is it just depends. Like I'll sit in a blind if I can. I'd prefer it. But there's certain places like we were talking about that the birds don't want to. We don't know what it is.
Right.
But the only time we've killed a bird this year is not in a blind, out of that or on that place, and so it just depends on where I'm at. Pretty much everywhere I'm at, I've cut down on calling. I don't call nearly as much. I try to be where they're at more so than bringing them to me. I haven't put a tom decoy out unless I've been with you. I haven't put a tom decoy out in the past week and a half, probably 2 weeks. Just had a hen or 2 hens.
And you feel like that's because the birds that you're hunting have been hunted some?
I think that they've been hunted some, and for whatever reason, I want to be as discreet as possible. Like if they're going to come up and see something, it's going to be something simple. And if it's going to be something simple, it's just going to be a lone hen or another 2 hens standing there that they would be comfortable seeing. And something where they don't see a fan from 100 yards away or something like that and know that they're going to be getting into a fight or they're going to have to fight. Unless I find the right birds that are dominant enough, like the 3 you guys had.
Right.
But I'm not worried nearly as much on calling or decoys as much now. I'm more so trying to just get in the perfect spot, be a little quieter, maybe have a hen or something out, and let them kind of do their things and make their own decisions to come to me.
And I would agree with that right up until, and I don't want to get into that one yet, but on Alyssa's bird, Alyssa killed the last turkey that we've killed. And so it was the latest. And I would say that I was erring on the side of, do I throw a decoy out here or not? But what I'm now trying to hunt is trying to find birds that I think may have not been messed with.
Yep.
And if you can find that, they'll still react the same way. So
Well, if that's the case, I'm still good. If I know that there's a section here where I'm like, okay, there's a really good chance these birds haven't been touched, I'm just going to go out in the same way I always would.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, do you think that there's I'm trying to read on this and I'm finding some information, but probably not enough to be able to do it right now, but do you think that there's periods of the mating season with turkeys like there is with deer? So, you got pre-rut where bucks are out looking for
for sure.
just getting started. They're not looking for does yet or chasing every doe. They may check one or two, but they're more starting to hit scrapes, establish their areas, and then you get into your rut where peak breeding season, and then you get into your post-rut where you can catch those really big bucks out traveling. Do you think that we'll go into a time where you get a little later in the season and these birds start going nuts, where those toms are looking for the last hens to breed, or they know that it's getting close? Because I don't think it really works the same as deer. They're not having to go find those hens because the hens come to them. But do you think there's like a period where they're like, they know it's almost over, and so he goes a little bit more loony than he usually would?
I think we're there, and I really do.
You think that's a thing then?
I do think I think that there's cycles to it for sure. I think there's a peak of when they're breeding, and I think some of the states actually plan their seasons. Why they do them the way they do them is to avoid that. And like back east and stuff where seasons are just starting, they wanted to make sure some of those hens did get bred and that they are on their way.
I also think that's a lot more random, though, compared to a deer. Like in a deer reference, you can kind of tell they all will start to go be doing the same things once they're in the center of it. Like, we're in the center of the rut. We can tell because there's bucks walking around stuck to the butt of a doe, and there's you just all sorts of different things. With turkeys, I feel like we might be in that time of year, but it's a matter of if you find the right one.
Right.
Because it's not like they're just all running around trying to beat the crap out of everything or whatever else. But
to some extent, there is a little that. I mean, that's how we killed Nick's bird. I mean,
if you can find the right one.
Yeah, he was gobbling his head off at 9:30 in the morning. Nobody around, and so
even that bird wasn't moving though.
No, he was.
You guys had to work him.
Yeah, but
properly to get him to actually go somewhere.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Is do you think that you're going to get to a period here where even a bird that's been messed with is fired up enough that 9:30 in the morning or whatever, hens have left, and he hears a call that he's coming running?
I freaking hope so.
I don't think so.
That's the first week or two you could get. Like, even the hens right now get more difficult to call in, I think.
Well, and that's because the hens have a nest to go to.
Yeah.
You see a lot more single hens, two hens together, and they got a nest to go to, and that's where they're going to sit. So that's where that becomes difficult. I think what you're referring to, the reason why I say that you may not see what you're talking about, is because that's changing the entire dynamic of turkeys. Turkeys know that if they gobble and a hen answers, she's supposed to come to him. That's how it's supposed to work. Not necessarily for a white-tailed deer. Just because a buck is going through the woods, he has to go seek out that doe. I even think the does avoid the bucks sometimes because they're so aggressive.
That's what I'm just saying. Is there a desperation stage for a turkey? Where it, like elk is a great example. Elk is the best example that I can give to this. Is your big bulls, I don't feel like they do this because they've been doing so much breeding. But as well as I do, those younger bulls, or those bulls that haven't been able to do any breeding, you get into the later part of September, and they hear a call, and they are losing their shit. Like, you find the right one.
Right.
It's not all of them, but you find the right one where he bugles, and then you hit one more call, and he's already another 100 yards closer. Like, he's not even thinking about it. Like, you could have probably messed with that bull in the first week, and he maybe came, or he got, he busted you or whatever, where by the last week of September, he's so possessed that he's not thinking straight at all. He just hears a cow, and here he comes.
And I still say I don't think it's ever going to be that, because the nature of the animal.
Yeah, that's just what I was.
But I think the turkeys do. I mean, if they're gobbling and answering and stuff like that, you can take advantage of that. And I guess, but before I talked about the tactics that we've used, I wanted to talk about, you've switched to a gun. You filled your archery tag, so now you just said, I'm going to go with a gun. What have you changed? Are you changing how you're hunting, or
He just doesn't hunt.
That's not true completely. I've been waiting for Alyssa to kill one. But yeah, I'm going to fun hunt. To me, sitting in, I give you guys props because I couldn't do that. Like the other night, you two, when you guys sat there, these two sat in the rain for probably, I don't know, 5 hours or something like that, waiting on that bird that they're talking about.
It's only
it's like
2 hours.
2.5, 3?
Dude,
And
you
it
guys
wasn't
left
raining.
the office at like 3:30.
But it wasn't raining the whole time. Only like 2 hours of.
Yeah.
It was when
But
I
no
walked out
blind.
of the office, and when I got to wherever I was going, it was still raining, which was hours later.
But we were seeing turkeys.
Yeah.
I mean, so
We
we
were a
had
little wet,
chance.
but
But not calling to them,
Nope.
not doing. To me, that's not. I mean, it's turkey hunting. It's not what turkey hunting is to me. To me, is what I'm going to do for the remaining days that I go out. I want to go and find a bird that's gobbling, and if he doesn't, I'm going to walk another 100 yards and hit a call, and walk another yards and hit a call, and walk another 100 yards and hit a call until I can find one that will play. And if I can't, that's okay with me. I would rather do that than just sit and wait for one, because
see, I'm not.
my patience for turkeys is just gone. I got none left.
It was never there to start with.
It's because
I'm
my
not-
patience with anything like that. Deer is the only thing that I can really sit there for, and even that's why I've said on this podcast, I'll never do an all day sit, because I just can't sit still that long. That's part of what I love about elk and and Western hunting a lot, is that I don't have to sit still.
I'm not a big fan of what we did the other day. That's not my preference. But the reason I'm okay with doing that is because it's I've never killed a bird like that. I've never found a bird at that time of year where he's doing the same freaking thing every day, and it's just a matter of time before he comes in the right way. And then if he does come in the right way, it's going to be difficult. It's still like a lot of things have to go right for that one to work. So that one, it's not the most fun type of turkey hunting to me, but it's also another challenge. You're not sitting with a blind, you're doing it with your bow. The best cover you have is maybe a reaper decoy if you want to keep it up. And you got to time everything right and time them right. You got to be patient with them. And it's not as interactive. I would much rather have the mornings where you go and you find a bird that's gobbling or whatever, and you're calling to him and you're working him in and he's gobbling, than that. But it's the challenge part, I think, for me that is I'm okay with. No, that's not going to be my preference, but I'll do it 100%. Because if I could do it, it's going to be pretty impressive.
Depends on how much you really want to try to fill a tag.
Yeah. To me, that's not worth it.
Well,
Dad made the comment of, I feel like we're sitting here waiting on a 180-inch deer.
because it's pouring down rain. I was like,
said,
all
yeah,
we're
maybe a
waiting on
10-inch beard.
But so, and you guys have both alluded to it a little bit. I think the one thing that I've changed when I'm hunting with someone that's carrying a gun this time of year, or if I'm hunting with someone like yourself where you got your bow, but you want to be more mobile, we want to go to these different places. Instead of packing a blind, we're simply packing a reaping decoy. What we're talking about is a strutting tom, and we're using it as cover. Again, we're only doing this in places where we know that we're safe to do it. But it's the way, so true reaping, in my opinion, is you spot a bird out in a field.
Yep.
And then you just grab the reaper and you start crawling at them, and then they hopefully will break and come to you, or they'll take off and run off. That's true turkey reaping. We kind of have combined it with some calls and things like that to try to work them to come to a call, but then when they get so close, they see the reaper. And that's what we did with Nick the other day. So he and I we had been the evening before set up on the birds you're talking about that were coming through the fence. They got through the fence, roosted. There's no place to hunt them that morning we had to stay about 200 yards away, which I knew was too far. But we're gonna try and see.
Stop.
So we get set up, and of course they go the other direction on us, which is kind of what I expected. Well, then I told him we just have to find the right turkey. We need to find one that's doing the right thing, and we have a chance. So it's now like 9:15 or something, and I told him we're going to come about this at a completely different way. And so instead of going into the farm from the north or from the south and coming into the way we normally come, we came from the west. and hopped up over a ridge. And so I knew we didn't touch anything, because when we come in from the south, we have to walk or drive through some fields. And when we do that, I think sometimes we could be busting birds and we don't know it. So we came in from this direction, hit a call trying to locate a turkey that we had been hearing that morning. We're like, I knew there was one over there. Couldn't hear him, but heard another one. And this one was far away, 400 or 500 yards. But he was gobbling every breath. And I mean, it was like not calling to him, he was just gobbling on his own. So I said, let's go see if we can get set up. And we were going to I had a blind set up in the field where we stopped and made a couple calls. And I mean, this bird is answering every single time you touch a call. And finally, after about 25, 30 minutes, so the first technique that I employed is I walked around the blind. I walked around like kind of a food plot that I have there and tried to get the bird to think that there was hens feeding. I even swapped calls a couple times as I did that, and that there was birds in this area. Wouldn't work. But he was 400 yards away probably. And so he just stayed where he was at. So then we decided I'm going to try and do a drive-by on him. And I know that sounds like a gangster hood, like, but because
What was your piece?
my piece was
20 gauge single
Nick,
shot.
Yeah, Nick with a 20 gauge and me with a Reaper decoy.
So it's not a real deadly piece then.
Boy, this was a Weird Al Yankovic drive-by.
So what we did was we started walking.
Churning up to butter.
We started walking toward the turkey, kind of, but flanking him. So not going directly at him, but going in his direction.
Kind of angling past him.
Exactly. And every time that we would go 75, 80 yards, something like that, I'd hit a call. And fortunately, he would gobble every time that I hit that call. So I knew he knew we were moving. And, man, we got within, I'm going to say 150 yards, maybe, something like that. And he started moving toward us. And I was like, okay, that's what we needed. Well, we were in the perfect grass to employ the Reaper decoy. I don't know that we needed it. I think we could have possibly done what we had done and then just kept calling, and he would have come into that grass looking for us, but he was out at about 50 yards, 45, 50 yards when he started to pass us. And so then we got the decoy held up high enough that he saw it. Once he saw it, then that was it, man. He came to 16 yards. And
that was a perfect one to do with your bow, too.
It would have been.
You could have.
You could have actually done that with a bow and arrow. But Nick did a good job and made a good shot, and we killed another big bird, another 2-year-old bird.
Yep.
But that was, if you were to talk about a turkey, Warren, like you're talking about, that was kind of, even though he wasn't running to us, he was gobbling like, I need to find a hen. I need a hen to answer me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the right bird to go after because he was fired up.
Yep, he was doing his thing. And so that made it really, really.
That makes it a heck of a lot easier, whether you can see or hear them. When you have to move on birds, to know where they are while you're moving on them. Because if you don't, a lot of times you probably are or did move to the right spot or move to somewhere where if you did it right, you didn't bust them or anything. But wherever you're getting to, you may not be able to see them. And holy cow, the amount of trust you have to have in your gut, like, okay, I know I'm in the right spot, and I know they're right over that hill. We just got to give them time. Makes it extremely difficult.
Extremely. I mean, I guarantee you. And then, too, you go too far, you jump them.
Yep.
You don't know it.
Yep.
And then you can't figure out why you shut up or whatever. That's where this bird was super helpful, because every time I stopped and checked, let's just see.
He was just letting you guys know, just come over a little bit further.
A little bit further.
And you guys can shoot me,
Yep.
How good do you think their hearing is?
Really good.
Like, significantly better than ours?
Oh, way
Than
better.
humans?
I think
I
so.
think they're rated, if you read about it, their vision is incredible, especially with the
see like
field.
300 degrees.
I know they can see really
But their
good.
hearing is incredible as well.
Well, I can tell you this. We'll get there in just a second when we talk about Alyssa's turkey. The wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. That's not even an exaggeration. I was looking at my phone, and it was saying that we had wind sustained at 22 miles an hour, and we were getting gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour. And so it's blowing the decoy all over the place and things like that. And that bird was I couldn't believe that he could hear me, but I could tell that when I hit a call that he was answering me, and so, they can hear very, very well. Are you finding some statistics that say?
Yep. It says outstanding hearing is an asset to all prey species. Dixon's compilation of wild turkey experts reveal that a wild Turkey's hearing is acute, although it lacks the external ear flaps, or pinna, which concentrates the sound waves. Field observations suggest turkeys hear lower frequency and more distant sounds than humans. That's weird for having such small ears.
Well, in their eyes, not only can they see, is it 270 or is it 315?
It's like
degrees?
300 degrees.
Something like that. There's only one sliver right behind them that they can't see. But the field of vision, but also their like
movement.
How far they can they can
they-
see very very well and detailed. I can't remember what they said it is. It's not antelope or 10 by 42 binoculars or something.
Some like 7-power binoculars
Yeah.
on their head.
Yeah, I can't think of what
It's
or what turkeys have.
275 degrees, I think. Let's see.
Well,
I'll find
the
it.
thing is, they pick up on the slightest movement.
I think it's 270 or
Well, and they're
315.
constantly
but-
moving their head. In addition to their incredible visual acuity, turkeys have a field of view of 270 degrees.
Dang, I'm good. Come on.
You're
Come on.
saying 300.
I said 270
I said
degrees
300.
or 315. It's one of the two.
This is impressive on its own, but when you consider how turkey strategically bobs its head and rotates its neck, it's almost constantly taking in what's going on at a full 360 degrees around it.
Yeah, they do a very good job of the like what you're saying, the movement.
I think if it wasn't for their fan when they're strutting, it'd be impossible to kill one like he did outside the blind.
Yeah.
You never get the full draw on them.
If here's the thing, if turkeys could smell,
Oh, we'd never kill them.
there'd be huge population booms
Yeah,
because
They
we
would
wouldn't
be-
be killing them.
they would be really hard to kill.
They would be like atop of the food chain.
Yeah.
So thank goodness they don't smell you. All right, but
What
let's.
other tips we got?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Alyssa's because that's the last one. I mean, that was just a day ago, or 2 days ago, and this one, I went back to first day of hunting.
Yeah.
Basically, I pulled out all the decoys. I went to a blind that had been that I set up before the season. I walked by the turkeys to get to that blind. I mean, it literally did not stop where I would normally say, okay, I want to set up here. I just trusted my gut and said, okay, I'm going to make them come to that north field. That's what
Yeah.
I call the place where I had the blind set up is the north field. And I said, well, if I can get them to come to the north field, but I felt like we were pretty far away because we had that strong, strong wind. And that's this. And I'll tell you what, as you hunt more, anyone out there listening, and you have experience, like I killed 2 of them in the rain this year. And I'm not a big fan of the rain. I don't like it. But this makes 2 times in a row that the really, really hard winds, because Joey's last year was just as windy as it was today or yesterday. We're still killing turkeys. You just got to get close enough to hear them.
It's just hard to hear them and hard to make sure they hear you.
And that was the issue that I had. So that morning when we set out the decoys, so Alyssa's my shooter, I'm running the camera, and before I get in the blind though, I made a few calls to try to make sure that bird did hear me. And it sounded like just one turkey. I mean, that's all we were hearing was one gobble. But I knew I got him to answer before I climbed in the blind. Once I got in the blind, shut up for a while, and then I kind of was doing what, you probably are mimicking me, or we just have seen that, in that I was limited on what I was calling. I was like, all right, just don't overdo this. Well, I was wrong. It wasn't until she shot the bird at 7:45 in the morning, or almost 8 o'clock, something like that. Yet we've been talking to him since 5:45. And it wasn't until, number one, this is something that you need to listen. Don't go turkey hunting with just one call.
Yeah.
I switched
Well,
calls.
I might have multiple, but man, do I have, I have one that I'm using, but
Yeah.
boy, am I loaded up with a lot of other calls.
Well, I mean, I have relied on my diaphragm call 100% this year pretty much. But I switched to the slate call. And when I switched to the slate call, it was like I turned on a whole new system. I don't know if it was because the wind was blowing and it's sharper. I think they were hearing it more clearly,
Yeah.
where maybe they weren't picking up exactly where I was before. But when I switched to that, and then I also switched my cadence, I went, instead of yelping at those turkeys, I started just cutting at them. And man, when I started cutting at them, they were freaking out. And to the point where you're like, I should be able to see these turkeys. I should be able to see these turkeys. But it still took them 20 minutes before they finally showed up. But when they came in just like they did on the first day. They saw that decoy, and here they came. But I knew we had a piece of information from our night before's hunt because we hunted a piece of property that had not been hunted. We got permission from someone, and he was like, "Yep, you guys are welcome to hunt there." And I was like, "Oh boy," because I had been driving by this place, and I knew no one had been hunting in there. And I was like, "Here we go." Well, he's a farmer, and he had to run the property.
Yeah.
He told us that. He said, I've got to go in and do some work in there, but you're welcome to hunt." And we felt like he ran the turkeys out. Now not that they would have left.
We actually thought that it was going to help us to use it there, so we get set up.
Yeah, because they were there so often in this particular cornfield that we didn't think we could get in there.
Yeah.
Turkeys don't seem near as tolerant as deer during season of any vehicles. Like deer, you can get away with, you drive the truck by them, don't stop, and a lot of times, unless there's somewhere where they're getting poached a bunch, you're okay. And the farmer can drive his tractor by them whenever. Turkeys, it seems like it doesn't matter what rig it is, they don't like
Not
it.
a
We're
fan.
moving.
Yep.
Well, that gave you the information too, knowing that evening that you had 3 new birds probably close to you.
Yep.
On a different piece.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons why we went where we went. The other one was getting out the evening before and owl hooting at him and got him to gobble, and that helped.
He calls it owl hooting. I really feel like it's
just
more
yelling.
of just yelling.
Yeah, I just like to make sure it's loud enough
Yours
that
is
it'll.
actually really good. I don't know how you do it, but
With my mouth?
yeah.
It's not loud enough though.
Yeah, mine's not very good, but it's really loud.
I
Yeah,
would
it
say
is
that's
really
the
loud.
one con of a diaphragm is that when you know how to use them, it becomes such a convenience that you get lazy and you don't use anything else.
Yeah, I don't. There's several times I didn't take my other calls with me, and I wonder now if I was missing opportunities where I might have gotten a bird to respond because I wasn't even trying the others.
Yeah.
See, I if anybody gets the opportunity to do it because I learned this from the first morning that me and Joey sat. We had the 2 birds, the 2 toms that flew down at 40, 50 yards. And goodness gracious, was I more annoyed with those birds than any other birds because they just strutted right there and they would not come any closer. But it was a great learning experience for me because I basically got to sit there and, 1, I'm teaching Joey how to hunt with his bow for turkeys, and 2, I'm like, okay, I'm calling at this bird like this, and he's not really, like, he'll strut right there, but he doesn't do much, but I can't get him to come in. So then I would switch. I'm like, let's see if I can start swapping through some calls here and see what they like more or what they don't. And you could literally see the different right there, just the fact of switching a different call that, okay, now they still wouldn't come in, but one of them would gobble or one of them would start strut, the other one would start strutting with the first one, things like that. And so you can really start to learn that a difference in a call is huge sometimes because sometimes all you got to do is switch one little thing and they're like, okay, that's it. Because I've even heard you have like a really raspy mouth call versus just a little less raspy mouth call, and they won't gobble at one, then you throw the other one in, and boom, right there. It's like they're just looking, and it's day to day. It's like the next day they might be feeling something else, and you got to figure it out. But that if you ever get the chance to have birds close, where you can kind of give them a couple different options, then you can watch their body language, see how they act with it, and what they maybe don't like very much, and you just learn a lot. And I had 2 hours of throwing every call I had in my pocket out to these birds to see what they liked and what they didn't and how they liked it.
Well, and that's I know we've talked about it in the other podcast. Patience. The other morning, like I said, this started at 5:45, and we hit a spot about 6:30, I think it was, for about 30 minutes, where the birds shut up. And I think a lot of people would have given up at that point. Would have been like, oh, they must have moved on. Because, I mean, we didn't hear them at all. They weren't. I was throwing calls. They're not hearing me. Now, again, the one thing that I kept telling myself is the wind is blowing that hard. They could be gobbling, and I'm not hearing
You're just not
them.
hearing it, yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, we're going to stick this out. Number one, we're committed to the blind and the decoys that we have setting there, you know. And I was like, I don't want to try to move on them. But it was. I'd say it was a good 35, 40 minutes. And so that's something that I would tell people is that's not uncommon. It happens a lot where you hear the gobbling from the tree, hit the ground. They might gobble some still. And then somewhere in there, they just quit. Don't leave. Hold on. I mean, give them 30 minutes, 45 minutes. See what, because all of a sudden they gobble again. And in this particular case, they didn't gobble again right where they were. They had moved some into the field I was talking about that I didn't want to walk through. And I was like, heck yeah, I think they're up closer. So but that was the first time that I had broke out the slate call.
Yeah.
The moment that I used the slate call, everything changed, and they came straight to the slate call. Matter of fact, as soon as I saw them, though, once I could see them, I'm pretty sure they could see the decoy. I didn't have to hit another call. They were coming. They came on a run. And
Yeah, I never understood like why you'd want to carry multiple calls, like slate calls, but like a genuine slate call versus a glass pot call. Oh
Sound
my
different.
gosh! They sound different, but holy cow, they react completely different too. Another pro tip for anybody out there that I went through this year of mouth calls. I've just never been good at them or taken the time to genuinely try to learn them. So I'm like, okay, I got to get to the point where I can use these proficiently. Or that's right?
Yep.
Proficiently, yeah.
Here we freaking go with words again. Anyways, I wanted to get to the point where I was comfortable enough to like I could use my mouth call without anything. If you're questioning yourself, what I did, if I had birds answering and stuff, I need to practice. I need to be like I practice outside of the blind and stuff when I'm at home and things like that. But you got to practice in the woods. And so what I would do is I would call to them, and I'm like, as long as it sounds all right, keep calling and stuff, and just see if you can get some answers and things like that. But at the same time, sometimes I would just use my slate call and then call with my mouth call because I know it doesn't, even if it sounds terrible, they're going to hear a good hen call in there.
Right.
So you can kind of cover yourself up so you can learn your mouth call. And everybody can do it.
One of the best things, though, that someone can do if you want to learn how to blow any call or use any call, and that's listen.
Mm-hmm.
When those hens are, and just listen to those hens, and it's almost like it etches into your brain, and you can hear that because there are hens that sound like a slate call, there's hens that sound like a box call, there's hens that sound like a diaphragm call, and then there's hens that don't, that are horrible. They sound just terrible.
Yeah, they sound like a smoker. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
In the certain situation, like we'll go over decoys and stuff. You go to a certain place, you're like, there's tons and tons of jakes here. So maybe I'm going to throw a tom decoy out so that I don't put another jake into the mix. And there's all sorts of different things you can do. But as far as calls, if you're in a certain area, you're listening to hens, and you hear just a really clean hen yelp or something, are you trying to match that, or are you trying to give them a completely different type of hen?
There's two ways I'll go about it. One, I like to mimic hens. I mean,
Yeah, I'll copy what they do, but
Right.
I mean, as far as trying to copy like exactly how they sound, would you like if it's a really clean hen versus raspy? Would you do a clean?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. I'll try
Okay.
to mimic them as closely as I can. Whether I got to pull out a different call to do that.
Yep.
But then the other one is, I find that a lot of times when I'm hearing a hen cutting is something that really agitates them.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like, I don't know whether you're saying that you're just much louder, but it definitely has an effect on them. Now, when I've seen most of the cutting from turkeys, it's been when they come in and then they're trying to find you. They're like, okay, I came all the way over here and now where are you? And then they'll start cutting real loud. And so anyhow, I don't know if that's what they're assuming, that someone has showed up there that wasn't there before. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on. But the other one that I employed the other day on Alyssa's, and like I said, this is late in the season, is that might be the latest that I've ever used the freak out session, where I got 2-3 calls going at once. And, you know, just to sound like it's a flock of turkeys over here messing around. So if you guys are over there gobbling, maybe because I do think once we got out of the blind after she shot, we jumped 2 or 3 hens. I think they left those 3 hens to come over to us. So I don't know, I can't swear to that, but the 3 hens that we jumped were right where the toms had come from. So,
So I think so for late season, give people 3 tangible tips that they can go out and apply right now.
one is later in the day. That would be the number one that I would tell them, that be ready to not kill turkeys till late in the morning, meaning 2-3 hours after daylight. And don't expect them to just freak out. But if you find that freaking out turkey, do whatever you can to get close to that turkey. He's killable.
Okay. So one, be more patient as far as stay in the woods longer.
Or go later. Don't even be afraid to, like, if you got something that you got to go do, but you got, you know, if you can go get your stuff done first thing in the morning, yes, you give up the knowing where they're at off the roost. But
how much later, though? An hour?
8:30,
3 hours?
9 o'clock? I mean, that not.
You don't think that's going to be tough to find them, though, at that point?
If you know your birds well enough, you probably have a good idea where they're at.
I really, especially this time of year, I like that 9:30, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Okay, so
That's
one is stay in the woods later.
Yep.
8:30 to 10:30. Okay, number 2.
2 is I would scout as much as you possibly can and see if you can pattern a bird. Because it seems like now they'll get into a situation where they're just doing like this bird that Easton's talking about. It was, I didn't go by there today. Typically, I drive by that place to look and see if they're out there, and I didn't go by there today. But it was probably 6 or 7 days in a row that bird, he was in that field every single day.
Yep.
So that would be number 2, I would say, is look for that pattern.
Scout them and pattern them.
Scout them and pattern them.
If you can.
And then number 3, I would say, don't be afraid to switch calls. You're gonna have to be a little more finesse, because some of these birds are gonna have been messed with. You're gonna have to be able to work. Don't be afraid to change your decoy setups. Don't be afraid to sit with no decoys. You get birds that are starting to starting to skirt around you, and it's time to pull decoys.
So 3 is get creative.
Get creative.
Do you think that when Bird has it figured out, he does the deal where we've all had it. He steps out in the field and he sees the decoy and stuff, and he's coming to the calls, and then he's gone. Do you think he's associating the blind with danger, the decoys with danger, or both? Like, I see a box and I see turkey decoys, and I've seen this before, and I'm out. Like, do you think if you just had the decoys that he may still come? Or if you had no decoys and just a blind, that he may be like, oh, okay. Do you think there's a specific one he's
I think
associating with danger?
The blind and decoys is number 1. It looks just like what he's expecting to see. And then decoys, the only thing that might get him on the decoys is now that we're able to employ some movement with some of the techniques that we have where we have remote control. They look alive.
Yeah.
I go back to the 3 birds when you killed the one where you ran across the field, in that they wouldn't come anywhere near our setup. And we had a blind and we had 3 decoys out. And then the moment that you started crawling out there with that Reaper, you didn't get out of our decoy setup.
We had moving decoys, though.
I couldn't remember whether we did there or not.
Yeah.
I don't think we did.
No, we did.
Well, I'm telling you right now, the movement
I just don't think it was enough.
Right.
The movement is great, but sometimes you're either moving them too much or they don't. I don't know what the deal is, because those same 2 birds, 2 hours, literally stood there and strutted at 40 yards, and my Tom decoy is spinning. And not like crazy spinning, but like spinning actually
Donuts.
doing well. Like, I'm like, man, this looks really good. I don't have anything on it, and it's turning when I want it to and stuff just because of the wind. And they did not come in until I gave them a different type of movement.
And that really was what you did. I mean, you just crawled out there, but as soon as Warren crawled out there, they just like
right at you.
Oh, here I'm going over there.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you take
that might have been a nap. I think that might have been like a cordial agreement of, hey, you're over there and you got your one hand or whatever, so we're cool. But then when I started coming at them, they're like, no, you're not going to enter our zone. You know what I'm saying? That's what I felt like.
You better
that
be
was
careful, son.
Yeah. You better know where you're stepping.
So I
it's
think
our territory.
I definitely think that's where moving decoy, where reaping, if it's legal and it's safe where you're doing it, can be lethal that second half of the season. It can be lethal at the beginning half, but you don't necessarily need to employ it.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that those are some good things to watch and see. We've honestly had a better late season than what we've had in the past. I feel like I know people listening are probably like, gosh, you guys have killed 9 or 10 turkeys or whatever. There's several of us hunting. We're putting a lot of hours in. We've had opening weeks that were better. Last year, for instance, was a better opening week. I haven't had as many call-in cycles, where I've had.
We just haven't been on as many turkeys. Other than like where I shot my bird, but that was a 1 watt of them, and they still were not going anywhere. But we haven't had as many turkeys as last year. Period. I don't think.
No, and the other one, and I don't know about you. I think you might have, but I've not seen a single strutting Jake. I've seen Jakes, but not one strutting.
I've seen a couple this year.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I've seen a couple that are strutting.
One that day that your phone went off.
Not strutting though. Was he?
Pack of like 10 that came in.
Yeah.
You say a pack? You just say a pack?
Our cameraman just said pack when he was describing turkeys. That's like, you don't say that. That's a flock of turkeys.
Anyways, yeah, I've also seen multiple jakes with hens. When there's plenty of toms in the area, and there's 3-4 jakes with hens strutting around. I've also seen a lot of jakes hanging out with toms.
I see that periodically.
I don't.
That's not that surprising.
I've seen it every once in a while, but not as like this year. It's like they're always together.
You see that in Nebraska a bunch.
I've seen
I've
more
been to
bearded
Nebraska
hens
now,
this year than I've ever seen. Still ain't
There's
killed one.
always a lot of bearded hens.
Yeah, but I don't ever see them, and I still ain't got to shoot one. Even though Mom passed one.
I think you're wrong. There's some bearded hens. There's not a lot.
Dude, I've got video at one of our places of 8
Together?
with beards.
When?
It was in the fall a few years ago when we were deer hunting.
So
I was
they're
like,
just
look
all
at this.
together.
Yeah, it was a
They must have
freaking.
been.
It was a
They're
whole
on
gaggle of Bruce
steroids.
hens.
They were
all
taking
meeting
some
each
kind
other.
of.
I wonder if
They
they all
missed their
came from the
estrogen
same
pill.
hatch.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I'll try and find the video. It
Maybe
was
they were
8
all
of them.
friends with each other or sisters. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Their mom has bad genes.
All right. Well, is there anything else we want to add? I think that's what we wanted to just kind of give some people a last little bits of tips and techniques, man, and then make sure you're spraying yourself for ticks, because the
Depending on
ticks
where
and
you're at,
and the chiggers have been atrocious lately. But other than that, it's fun to hear them. I mean, they're still gobbling in the mornings and gobbling in the evenings, and we'll hear them all the way up into camp. You know, like the second, third week of June, we'll still hear birds gobbling.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, well, cool. Anything else before I wrap this up?
That's it.
All right, fellas, guys
Good
and
luck.
gals,
Send
we sure
pictures.
appreciate you guys. We want to ask you again, make sure that you guys are filling out the reviews for us. We sure appreciate it. It's worked phenomenally. So
Send us topics.
yeah, and if you got something that you want to hear us talk about, even if it's turkeys, we might save it till next year, but we will talk
We
about
still
it.
have some time. We can
Yeah.
discuss if we want to do it this year.
We can. All right, so this is the Raised Hunting crew signing off. Thank you guys very much.